right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. For tonight, tonight's the night of busting cherries. First up is Grumpy
Uh-oh.
Pete. No, 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 good way.
Ouch!
And
Ouch!
What's up, Larry?
nothing
Hey,
much,
take
Pete.
it like a
Nothing
man.
much. Yeah,
I watch too much Oz.
Dun, 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 dun. That's actually, even though that show is super gay, it is a damn good show. It's well done. I like that first season, especially that first episode. They get kind of that almost metaphysical, like there's some weird, almost like supernatural shit going on with the show.
I'll be honest with you. I've never watched Oz. I just I've watched too much Oz. I saw like one scene of I've watched too much Oz.
I don't know, because when everybody's like, "Oh, Orange is the New Black" and this and that, and I'm like, "Shit, that ain't real." Oz, now Oz is real. It's like, but it's the craziest thing. Like all these great actors came out of that show. I mean,
absolutely.
J.K. Simmons, Christopher Maloney, Lee Turgison. You had Harold Perrineau. You had pretty much half the cast of The Wire came off of that. Ernie Hudson. Everybody's like, "Oh, Ernie Hudson." The dude, in that show, he didn't play a bad guy. He played just a dude. He played the warden. But damn, it was like this. I don't want to piss him off. But I was watching that Opie and Anthony interview with him years ago, and he was saying, "Oh, he's basically I just did it because of the pay. I had a family to provide for." But it's like he's one of these kind of guys. He's not one of the "I'm an actor." He's like, "I'm just doing it for the money." He is Winston Zedmore in real life.
It's just he sees some prison rape. He's like, "That's a big Twinkie." That's all I can envision.
Oh my God, the creepiest thing is there's a guy, this white supremacist, who has this really bad gum disease, and so he had his gums removed, and they.
Oh God, I can see where this goes.
Well, they transplanted. The thing about it is they medically removed him, and they gave him a transplant. Well, because donor lists and this and that. Well, turns out, I can't remember if it was actually the fact or somebody lied to him, said that the gums that you got, the skin, the gums that you got were from a black man, and so he goes and takes one of the prison shivs and cuts the skin right off because he's that much of a white supremacist.
Oh God,
and it was disturbing because the thing about it is I know it's all practical effects. It's probably latex, a little bit of gelatin, and the Karo syrup would be on it, but it's still disturbing to see because it's you can. Unlike your head getting ripped off and this and that, where it's over the top, it just seemed very. It's like when bones stick out of people, and they do that in movies. Oh God! It's I know how that could feel.
Well, you remember that movie, The Descent, about those
girls?
Yes. Oh my God! The worst. I mean, screw the creatures. That was the least scary part of it. When that girl had that compound fracture and the bone is sticking out of her leg. I'm like, I don't think I can watch the rest of this movie. I don't care what happens next. And I'm not claustrophobic, but there's a scene they just keep going deeper and deeper, and they're just squeezing, and it's why? I don't get these spelunkers. What's the point? You know what I mean? Just I'm just gonna keep crawling through this area that no one's ever been to, nothing but small animals, can get into. And how's my fat ass gonna get back out and I'm just gonna die? And there was a guy that happened to. It was this cave. I forget where. It was somewhere in the States. And it's got a silly name for it. I'm going to try and find it and tweet it or something. But long story short, this asshole goes down, and he got stuck. And he tried to, go turn himself around, but he got stuck upside down. And then he just fucking died because it's just your body can't stay upside down for more than 72 hours. So this guy dies, and then they just fucking seal it so that no one else can go down there and die. And so they never got him out. They tried to get him out and they couldn't. And it's just good. You know what I mean? Just
they sealed it up to keep his soul trapped there forever.
It's like a B horror movie on Sci-Fi Channel. Oh no, don't open that cave. The ghost of the dead spelunker is gonna haunt us all. Sci-Fi Pictures original. Let's not give them any ideas. It's probably gonna be, next week. Yeah,
tonight at 9 p.m. The Ghost of the Spelunker on Sci-Fi Channel. It's a Sci-Fi Channel original. It's like
starring
one of those
starring Richard Grieco.
Richard Grieco. It's with Debbie Gibson in there as well.
starring Debbie Gibson. Lorenzo Lamas stars.
Lorenzo Lamas is the as the like the park ranger.
Yes.
He's being haunted because his girlfriend died. Same thing. It's like he's an alcoholic, which probably ain't playing against type.
He was in some movie, and it was like I read a review of it. It was like this. I say it's a sci-fi movie, but not like sci-fi, not a Sci-Fi Channel original. It was like a science fiction movie, and it was about like aliens. It was terrible. But there's a scene where there's like an airlock door, and he like kicks it down. Like, it was just ridiculous. And I read a review of it, and it was like the the silliest moment was when the Renegade kicked down an airlock door and started shooting like the Renegade. I was like dying laughing. It was hysterical.
Well, that's what I was watching. In Renegade, his Native American buddy. The dude from Renegade.
Yeah.
When I was watching for the first time, License to Kill.
Oh yeah, he's in that.
Yeah, he's in that. That became my favorite Bond movie. I mean,
I love that movie.
A fucking semi truck popping wheelies. I mean,
it's on his side. That movie is awesome. That was on heavy rotation for me as a kid. That was like the first James Bond movie I remember like watching beginning to end. And like my dad was always into James Bond, and he was a Sean Connery guy,
mm-hmm.
and he couldn't stand Roger Moore. He said he was too British, and by British I mean like posh. He was like, "Oh, I'm Roger Moore. I can't get my hands dirty." And no one can believe you could take a punch. Whereas Sean Connery was just like, he's just all man. We all know that. But Timothy Dalton, I thought was really good, and people say that he sucks. I don't see it. I thought he was really good.
I watched because for the first time, I went through. Amazon had all the movies except for Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace, Skyfall, and then they had Spectre, which I was like, nope, I'm not going to spend 2.5 hours of my life being angry at a film. No, so I went back.
I haven't seen it yet.
It's just apparently it's really bad. It's like and that's the thing. It's like I normally I watch bad movies. I watch movies like that Suicide Squad. That movie's gonna be bad. I'm not gonna watch it. So I bought the Blu-ray and then watched it like a dozen times within like the first 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah,
I was like, why am I watching this? This is bad, but I love it. But with License to Kill, not only did he make the semi truck pop a wheelie, he had it go on its side. He doused a guy in gasoline and then used this like giant flamethrower lighter and the best part, the Robert Davi as Sanchez, he's like, Felix Leiter's like, you're going to have to kill me. And he already killed his wife. And Robert Davi's like, he's like, the whole thing is that it's the Khan method. It's like the worst, killing you is far too easy. Like hurting you, that makes much more sense. Like the whole, and it has the chick, the woman he like basically like brutally spanks, draws blood. That's actually Princess Katana from Mortal Kombat.
Talisa Soto, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like she's great now. I was like, damn, because I didn't think like you feel her terror. It's like maybe she's actually scared of Robert Davi. Who knows? But when
I'm scared of Robert Davi. I can imagine how she feels.
Oh yeah, and you had the other Johnson from Die Hard, because he's in there too, and it's like there's Die Hard connections, all that. But the
Goonies. I don't think there's a Goonies connection to License to Kill, but other than that.
Definitely a Die Hard. There's like that, definitely the Die Hard connection. But that sequence where he's tied up and he's like the sharks, and he's like, "You're gonna let the sharks eat me?" And he's like, I'm not gonna kill you. Today is the first day of the rest of your life, unless the sharks take chunks out of him, missing a leg and an arm and all that. And it's like
a brutal movie.
It is, and that right there, the aspect of Bond being just this, he's a bastard. He is a son of a bitch, and that right. And I know people love the Daniel Craig stuff, but he was a little too mopey. I liked Casino Royale, and I actually did like Quantum of Solace a bit. I like the fact that there was like I liked Quantum of Solace more than Skyfall. I thought Skyfall was an overrated piece of shit, but it was just like this joke. It was basically The Dark Knight, but with James Bond. Take out Javier Bardem doing the whole like kind of feminine, possibly homosexual overtones. there's like that with the whole Bond thing, like, oh, I got to tie to a chair, and it's like, okay, yeah, I get it, but he's like, at the end, Bond fails, people die, okay, whatever. It's like I don't go in, and it's like that whole Home Alone sequence at the end of the film. Like, what the fuck? This ain't a Bond movie. Like, right. if the Bond house had like, oh god,
paint cans and bricks at them,
tar paper with roofing nails underneath of it.
Get in there, Mobs! Get in there!
You dirty man! Yeah, like
the little segue. My favorite line from Home Alone was when like Kevin McAllister gets into the treehouse, and like this is the day before cell phones, so this joke might not work anymore. But like he gets across, and he's like, "Hey idiots, I'm calling the cops." And then Marv is just like, "Hey, he said he's gonna call." He's like, "From a treehouse!" It's like that shit just that had me dying as a kid. From a treehouse, like you fucking idiot.
I mean, because I watched that long before I watched Goodfellas, and then watching Goodfellas, and it made like if I'd watched Goodfellas first and then watched that, like, oh no, he's gonna kill him.
He's gonna bury this kid in the desert.
Oh, he's gonna take a big old vice, put it on Kevin Costner's head, and pop his eye out of his socket.
Don't get scared now. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Oh no.
Oh my god! But I was because thinking about this whole James Bond stuff, and then also that also has one of the songs, that "Dirty Love" by your dude Tim Feehan.
Oh god, Tim Feehan. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh god, The Wraith. Oh my god, I watched that recently again. I was like, that movie kicks ass.
It does.
The biggest problem though is that he basically fucked his brother over. Like, here's the keys to the supercar. Oh yeah, by the way, it's got a bunch of bodies attached to it. Good luck, bro. Me and Sherilyn Finn are going off to heaven or space or wherever the hell I went to. Have fun explaining it to the cops.
Just stay at the speed limit. Don't go above the speed limit. Make sure your blinkers are on. Go to a full stop. Just don't give them any reason to pull you over.
Get a new paint job. Get a new paint job.
It's like Grand Theft Auto.
Back into the spray and paint. Just like, wait.
Exactly.
Get rid of the cops.
This fucking badass car comes out.
And the worst part is, it's like this, because they show that sequence where they open up the hood and there's like this. It's like this alien, otherworldly, hyperdimensional engine or whatever. It's like. I mean, what if it's bad enough if you drive like that's. I know these people, they drive BMWs, a lot of them releases or all that, like Mercedes as well. Mm-hmm. And if they get them, they get those things and them cars and they bust. It isn't like a major city. You have to go like an hour, hour and a half, even 2 hours, depending on the local dealerships and stuff. Because our dealerships up near Raleigh and Durham and all that, even Charlotte. But you're dealing with that kind of. It's not like going to the Napa or the auto zone and go pick it up. Tie rod or something. Like, exactly. Oh, you put a tie rod on your Mercedes. It's like, no.
Back into Midas and get
O'Reilly Auto Parts. Yeah, I'm looking for this for a Mercedes Benz, or Porsche 911. It's like,
excuse me, sir. Do you happen to have a Rolls Royce? What's it called? A spark plug by any chance? Oh no. It's just some asshole. Some fucking sent Jeeves into fucking Pep Boys.
Rolling up with a Bugatti. Rolling up in the. Oh my god! I wanted to get your thoughts on something. I know you're a big Star Trek fan. You're a huge Star Trek fan.
Oh yeah. You taste the sarcasm.
Not a fan of certain stars.
Stars, or the Star Trek star? Could it be Will Wheaton?
Oh my god, that guy! I can't stand him. I didn't grow up watching TNG. It wasn't until later, till like the Netflix stuff. So I may watch 1 or 2 episodes. Like if I was if I was sick or something. I'd have the TV because being syndication. I mean, some channels would have them on God knows what time of the night, and I remember watching like 1 or 2, and they bored the shit out of me. I'm not gonna lie, and I never watched DS9, not even when they were promoting that the Trials and Tribulations, like the Forrest Gump episode where they put the Deep Space Nine crew in that old Tribbles episode from the original series, which is actually that's my favorite episode of Deep Space Nine now. Because
I've
it's
never
like this.
watched it.
It's actually really cool. It's like it's like season 5 or season 6 of Deep Space Nine, but there's a guy shows up, and if you've watched the original Trials of Tribbles episode, the original series, it's the same actor like many years later because he was a Klingon. He was what's called like a augmented Klingon. Like they had like facial reconstruction surgery to make him look human. And he gets on the Defiant, which is the Deep Space Nine ship, and there is a temporal rift, and they end up in Kirk's time. And there's like this they recreated, this is before they did those remaster, like the special effects remasters where they instead of taking the models, which I actually like the remaster effects because it
doesn't look bad. It doesn't really take you out of it. It
fits.
Yeah.
It does. And they did it, and the guy beams off the ship. He's damaged the ship, and so they have a cloaking device on the Defiant because it's meant for the Romulans gave it to him and shit. But they spliced in these new actors, this new footage with the old footage. You see them like the background, and you see this like, Kirk interacts with a few of them, and they did it like Tenet, Forrest Gumpy way without being, hey, here's this guy with Down syndrome, mentally handicapped. Oh yeah, it's like if you reverse that, it's like this a guy taking advantage of this woman with a diminished mental capacity.
Yeah,
that kind of shit. It's like, but it's a really good episode. But I mean. But going back and watching TNG, I've become to respect it much more, of course. But
I actually saw the very first episode the night it aired in 1987 of The Next Generation because it was a big deal. Like people were talking about it, and it was the return of Star Trek in some capacity, and people were pretty hyped for it. I watched it and I was just like, ugh, I don't know. I was never my deal with Star Trek was my grandmother was a huge Trekkie. And, I watched it, but I didn't really pay any mind to it. One of my first, and I mentioned this on the Anakin Frequency. One of my first movie-going experiences, I was like 5, and my grandmother wanted to see Star Trek 3: The Search for Spock. And, my grandmother was like, well, he likes Star Wars, maybe he'll like Star Trek. It's the same thing, right? Oh, Jesus. So they dragged me to this theater, and I'm like, this sucks. Like, nothing happened. It was just a bunch of people talking. Like, this is bullshit. Like, when's stuff going to blow up? Where's Luke Skywalker? What is this? And then that really kind of turned me off of Star Trek, and then years later, I ended up watching more of The Next Generation with my grandmother. That was kind of something that we did. I haven't watched every episode, and I would just kind of sit there and watch it with her, and I just remember it was like, oh, Whoopi Goldberg's in it. She was like a kind of a big star at the time, and it's kind of like, oh, wow, she's on TV. Like, she went from like Jumpin' Jack Flash to, oh, shit, now she's on TV. And so... And so I didn't know at that time you think, oh wow, it's a movie star on TV. You don't think about it now. It's like, yeah, that was a movie star. Now they're on TV. It's just like
how far have they fallen?
Oh, exactly. You don't realize it when you're like 10, 12 or whatever. But then I would watch it every so often, and even then I've gone back, and if it's once in a while, if I see it a lot on BBC America plays a lot of Next Generation, so I'll sit and watch it.
That's weird as all hell to have BBC America playing Next Generation when considering, that is like the typical American. Like, I mean, they should be playing like Red Dwarf, Doctor Who.
They fucking played Ghost Rider and Ghost Rider of Spirit of Vengeance on Today. They had
what?
Yes, I was like, BBC America.
They're just trying to fill time.
They have to. I mean, they could put anything on. They could put a pile of shit on and still be like, get more viewers than that stuff. Like, come on. Oh, like, I was like, what is this? I mean, is it like, am I in Bizarro World? Is this Siffy? Like, what's going on here? And I'm like, no, this is BBC America. I'm watching, Nick Caging out on BBC America. It was just bananas.
That right there, that's the waste of. That's why I cut the cord a while back, got rid of cable. I haven't cut Netflix. I got rid of Netflix because Netflix has just been like I was enjoying Narcos. I enjoyed Stranger Things season 1, season 2. It stunk. That's worse than stunk. I should fast forward some of the episodes.
Yeah.
Like it's like the childhood romance crap. I'm like, I can't stand this stuff. Just give me some strange, weird shit.
Right.
And it's like this. The writers they just like, well, we don't know what to do. They clearly didn't have a second season in mind.
That pisses me off when you get when they start off a show and they have no vision of what happens next. And I understand. Here's the thing. A lot of shows now that it's on network TV. I mean, I don't think they have any expectation of lasting more than a season. It's just fuck it. We're just going to make this. And if it lasts more than a season, cool. No one, NBC used to be the worst about every the fall network TV shows. And this is just within the past 10 years. Why bother watching a network show if it's only going to last maybe 7 episodes and they'll pull the plug? Why invest your time? It's bullshit. No wonder ratings people don't watch TV anymore because it's just that if there's only going to be 7 episodes, why? And they're just going to pull the plug after one season, or if they'll order a full season but it doesn't come back. So I think possibly they just thought the premise of it is kind of cool. I mean, it's like Stephen King meets John Carpenter. It's it's a cool.
Yeah, two things I love.
In the 80s. Oh yeah, and it's set in the 80s. Fuck yeah! I mean, that's why it was a big hit because people were like, shit. Kids that grew up in the 80s loved it, and kids that wanted to grow up in the 80s loved it. And so I think when you had that kind of out of the blue, wow, people love this. What are we gonna do next? Fuck. What do we do? And they had nothing planned for season 2. They were just they just had a monkey throw fucking darts at the board. We're okay, yeah, teen romance. Fucking nonsense. It sucked.
What got me, that pissed me off the most, I was watching a show, and your imagination, when your imagination supersedes or exceeds what they actually deliver. I was watching a show, and that they introduced the little blonde girl and her brother, her evil older brother, and I'm like, okay, they're from California, and I'm like, California 80s Lost Boys. They're probably either werewolves or vampires, that kind of thing.
Sure.
We had to move here because of you, and I'm thinking maybe she.
We had to move here because of the Frog Brothers.
Yeah, it's the Frog Brothers. Exactly. It's they're kind of the Bram Stoker Dracula, where during daylight they could be out, but they don't have they're weak, like that kind of thing. But that brother, I was like, oh my God, it's a younger Buffalo Bill. There's a part where he's even in the mirror and doing his thing, and I was like, the only thing he's missing is the woman's suit. And I was like, Buffalo Bill Jr. I was like, all right, this is gonna be good. And of course, they do nothing with it.
Yeah.
And at the end of the season, we quote unquote defeated the monster. Monster's still there, looking in on him, whatever. Who cares? I'm done. I'm done with that. Narcos season 3, I enjoyed, and I don't know if you watched that show. It's
no.
It was a very brutal. It's about drugs and crime and all that stuff in Colombia.
I know of it. I just my life is so busy at the moment. I can't watch TV. I'm the biggest Punisher fan you'll ever find. And when that show came out, if I was single with no children, I would just sit there and binge all 12 episodes. I'd bang into work the next day, just chug coffee and watch it all in one fell swoop. That didn't happen. It took me a month and a half to watch 13 episodes. It sucked. It was I'd have to wait, because my wife wanted to watch it too, but I work days and she works nights. So it's finding time together to watch a show is non-existent. So we had to sit there and do you want to watch it? Okay, yeah, we'll watch an episode. I'll get 2 episodes in and okay, let's just go to bed. And then 4 days later, we'll watch another one. It just, it was hell for me because I wanted to keep going with it. But so that just gives you an idea of how I watch TV and catch up with series. It's non-existent.
I don't envy that, but I understand it. But that's one of those things. That's another thing that disappointed me, because I watched Luke Cage. Antonio recommended me to watch Luke Cage, and so I watched Luke Cage. And I loved it. It's a blaxploitation show. There's people saying, they're complaining about. I'm like, you've never watched Coffee, you've never watched Dolomite, Shaft, especially the Shaft sequels. I mean, where they just didn't give a shit. But this over the top shit. It's at one time, Rudy Ray Moore would have been a good Luke Cage. But
he's karate chopping guys like 5 feet from their face. Yeah, I love it.
It's like, um, but yeah, it's like, but that, like, see, that's what I love about Luke. I mean, that aspect of it, the fact that, like, I was glad they didn't like shove in a bunch of white faces. I'm like, I want a black exploitation. Like, black exploitation has like maybe 1 or 2 white people in it, and that's it. That's what I love about black exploitation. It's great. But then I watched Iron Fist, and I was like, okay, this is probably going to be rough, because Luke Cage had the same problem. It should have been 8 episodes, but they stretched it out to 13. It was a lot of filler, a lot of like, that's about it. That's the Marvel programming. It's like filler. Yeah. We got to get 13. And then Iron Fist was the same way. There was this. The showrunner, the people didn't know what they were doing. It's not a crazy idea. Look, white boy gets lost in the, he almost dies, gets turned into the ultimate weapon, comes back to the world. I kind of like the aspect. The dude just walking around, hoodie, no shoes, like the ground doesn't bother him. He can kick ass, but he's a man of peace. It's kind of like the kung fu, David Carradine a little bit.
Yeah. Well, what's crazy with that is that Arrow had how many episodes in the first season? Like 22. And it's essentially the same premise. Like, guy gets stranded on an island and he comes back with all these abilities and he tries to, right the wrongs in the city. Fucking, why did Arrow get it right with 22 episodes? And Iron Fist just shits the bed in 13. And I didn't watch Iron Fist. I mean, everybody was just, there's a million reasons why people didn't like Iron Fist. I don't think any of them were really like, oh, it's the quality of the show. And people are just like, oh, white guy on a show about Asian.
There's Shang-Chi. If they want an Asian dude, there's Shang-Chi, the master of Kung Fu, who's the son of Fu Manchu. And that's one of those things. Like, I like that. Actually, I think they got the rights back to that. They actually say that he's the son of Fu Manchu. But there's like pretty cool parts where he gets locked up. He's like, oh yeah, I was in the mystical city of Kunlun, because he's like just being honest, because that's the whole thing. It's like, he got taken in when he was like around 10 years old. He's like 20 something now, and so the idea of like him just being truthful and honest. He come from basically not like heaven, but like a pretty almost like heaven, and the idea of like being truthful and honest and being just blunt. And people, oh, he's crazy, and they have him locked up. And there's a part where these guys are about to kick his ass, and he starts he makes his fist glow, and he eventually kicks their asses, but also breaks out of the place by punching a hole in the wall, which I was like, yeah, that's cool. There should have been more moments like that, but not this idea of like this guy saying, oh yeah, I was in a mystical city, even though this is a world where aliens came down, destroyed part of New York, and all this and that. It's like people still try to hold on to their sanity a little bit longer. They don't want to idea of there's mystical cities. Oh yeah, sure, writing that down. Psycho,
yeah, right.
But yeah, it's like with that Defenders sucked. I mean, it's like Punisher. Like that first episode and the last episode, 2 of the best episodes. The best episodes.
Absolutely, and that was disappointing too, because it's like anything with Agent Madani was just like, what are we doing? Like when she's sitting around drinking wine with her mother, who's got a voice like from fucking hell. She just chain smokes Pall Malls and eats glass. Why don't you want to sit next to me and tell me about your day? Like, who is this? What are you fucking, Jesus Christ. I would run away in terror. I just like put her in a fucking skull vest and be like, go get him. Like, hey, would you like to sit down with me and have wine? No, and they just fucking die just from her voice. It's like some mystical shit. Anything with Madani and her mom and her shitty partner that died because he was an idiot. And Billy Russo wasn't bad. They changed him from the comic a little bit, but some of the changes that they made with the Punisher, I mean, like, I don't think they did. It was a lot better than what they did in like the Thomas Jane one, where it was just like, what are they doing? Like Tampa, Florida, like this.
That was the biggest thing right there. The idea of like it's a family reunion. It's the Castle family reunion
in Puerto Rico. You remember that? No one did.
It was so bad. I've seen out of all of them, I recently saw Warzone. Oh my God, did that thing suck? I hated that film. It was so bad. It's like, and the thing about it is, I love the
Warzone or the Thomas Jane one.
No, the Warzone, the one where he looks like Steven Seagal. Steven Seagal. It's like and the thing about it is, it's like it's bad enough. Like I was like, okay, that actor.
Ray Stevenson.
Ray Stevenson. He was in Rome. I love Rome.
Yeah.
Great dude. Can't
He was
go
in
wrong.
He was in a movie called Outpost. Have you heard that one?
I haven't.
It was like it was just before the Punisher movie came out, or the Warzone came out, and it was like a supernatural movie with like him, and they get some Nazi base in like Bulgaria, someplace. Maybe that was where they shot the film. I don't know. It was some Eastern Europe, exactly. But I don't know. It was kind of a cool movie. They get into some Nazi bunker, and then some weird shit happens. It was kind of it was like him and a group of mercenaries, and I vaguely remember, but I remember it was like, oh, this isn't too bad. But it was just before Warzone came out, and it was fun to watch him shoot, automatic weapons before he donned the old skull there. But
well, that whole that armored look, it just looked too bulky. He didn't feel like Frank Castle. Now the one that felt most like Frank Castle was the Dolph, the 88. That right there, if he had the shirt, I know they did the little knife on the skull on the knife. Yeah. I mean, it just needed the shirt. And I knew I was talking to somebody who said, but we didn't really need Louis Gossett Jr. Louis Gossett Jr. was great in that. That whole contrast.
He was fantastic in that movie.
It was like he was like, you're a mass murderer. You're out of your damn mind. And he's pointing out
he's like, you're sick, don't you? He's like, no, I'm not. What the fuck do you call 125 murders in 5 years? Work in progress. I'm like, yes, this is fucking great.
You know that film that was filmed in Australia?
Yes, exactly. Because one of the mobsters has an Australian accent. Did you notice that? Go back and watch.
Oh my god, I didn't know. Oh, it's like certain pointed out. It's like Christian Bale with that mole near his eye. That was pointed out to me. I can no longer not see it. It's like, oh my god. It's like certain actors have lazy eyes. It's hard for me to not see it now. It's like, damn it, now it's ruined the movie. It's like now you see that. It's like you can't unsee it. But
well, I remember watching that movie, and there was like one of the mobsters. He's like, so you're saying there's nothing we can do about our kids? I'm like, fucking dude, Jesus Christ, you fucking Paul Hogan, Jesus Christ. Well, there's nothing to do about our kids now. Fucking, this here's the most venomous snake on the entire planet. Like, I'm an Australian, mate.
What the fuck, dude, man? You pulling out the accents, shit, man. You're killing it. You're killing it, man. You're killing it. But that's like that's funny you mentioned that. My first exposure to Australia as a concept, it was Rescuers Down Under.
Oh god,
that movie was fucking good. Like George C. Scott is the bad guy. Yeah, it's like, and the animation is like that was like one of those things. I remember seeing the Rescuers, and the animation looked like shit.
Yeah, that 70s kind of like Robin Hood, Jungle Book. They recycled a lot of that stuff too. I just realized that I watched it on YouTube like a couple weeks back because I have no life, and I saw that they recycled a lot of the like Baloo and Little John were like recycled.
Oh wow, really?
Recycled all the animations. That. Yeah, it's pretty weird.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, you were saying the Rescuers Down Under.
Rescuers Down Under. And that one's like it just holds up. Like I've rewatched it recently, and I was like, damn thing holds up. But another movie, like I didn't realize, like there's another thing. Kind of, it was always getting airplay on either HBO or Cinemax. It was Reckless Kelly. Yahoo Serious, the Yahoo Serious movie.
I remember Yahoo Serious. Oh man!
The thing about this, I had never seen Young Einstein. Young Einstein. But the bad guy. The reason I watched Reckless Kelly because not only the whole thing is like this guy's like an armored suit. This whole thing, he's robbing banks in an armored suit, and he goes to the ATM for withdrawal, and he shoots it. They start spitting out money. It's like a grocery bag full of money. But the bad guy in it with his hair plugs is Hugo Weaving.
Oh no shit!
Yeah, he's in that film, and there's a part where he goes like Ned Kelly goes to America, and he becomes this actor, and he's like this guy. It's like if a Hollywood producer had foresaw Garth Ennis's Punisher, Preacher, and then done it as like a late '80s, early '90s action film. He's got the hat and the collar. It was like that, the stupidest thing. It's a dumb movie. It's so dumb. I love it. And Jan from The Office is the love interest.
Oh no shit.
Laura Harden. That's it.
Oh okay. Yeah.
But yeah, she was the love interest in Iron Eagle. She was a girlfriend there.
Yep.
She was the Loudon singer, and The Rocketeer, of course, Jan in the Office. She was in a bunch of other things like throughout the. It's like, oh yeah, she's like one of those like, oh yeah, I know her.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like those movies, like those like it's hard to get those movies now. Like I mean, I lately it's like I've been seeing some of the when I did have Netflix, there'll be a few things on. I watched that The Void, that Cthulhu Lovecraftian horror movie that it came out like 2 years ago.
Oh, I haven't seen it. No.
Oh, it's okay. You ever seen Assault Precinct 13?
Yes. Well, I saw the original. I didn't watch the
original.
remake.
That's the only one. Yeah. That's the only one. I don't. Everybody loves the sequel.
Attaboy, like, Larry. That's
that right there. I mean, that what pisses me off is that the actors from the remake I like. But the idea of the remake, I like this stripped down kids getting killed. Since I don't have kids, I know a lot of people say, "Oh, I can't watch that now. I have kids." But it's fiction. I can put that fiction. The whole thing, the little girl's like, "Hey, he didn't get like that's what greed gets you, girl." She just kept walking, and she gets just shot down, and like her father goes and kills some gang members, all that. But the Void, there's like these two hunters, and they're hunting down these. What they're hunting down, but they're hunting down people. They actually hunt down a cult, and the cult's like doing some weird, like dark black magic, some kind of trying to bring about like elder gods and stuff, like that, like Cthulhu shit. And they go to a hospital that had a fire, and like limited staff. And like they're trying to they haven't the hospital open, but just emergency reasons because it's like the next one is so far away, and they ended up there in places surrounded by these cult members and really really fucked up shit. A lot of practical effects too.
Oh, that practical's good. There's not enough of that these days. Everyone wants to go to CGI, and it's just like sometimes it takes you right out of the movie. It's like I'm watching something that's completely fake, and as opposed to like something that's practical, like it's maybe fake, but it's got like texture to it, and it might so it's just kind of like that you're looking at something that's tactile and real, and it might not, the animation or like the animatronics might not look the best, but like something like Alien, okay? Like Alien is fucking. If they were to do Alien now, they would just fucking CG the shit out of it.
They did it. And that was the Alien Covenant. Which is basically just a remake of the original.
That goes to show you how fucking little I cared about that movie. I completely forgot about it. You just said that Alien Covenant. I'm like, fuck, they just did it. I just shit. Yeah. Oh, fuck yeah.
The perfect example is the John Carpenter thing where they had Rob Bottin do the thing,
yeah.
And then they did that
the fucking remake. Yeah. Well, prequel. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's called The Thing.
Which they were supposed to call it something else, which is so fucking dumb.
Yeah.
But it's like the worst thing about it, the guys who did it, ADI, Amalgamated Dynamics Inc., which is Alec Gillis and Tom Woodruff Jr., they worked for Stan Winston. They actually did effects on everything from Monster Squad, Aliens, Alien 3. Like they done but they were doing the practical effects, and they were showing like because they have like they have the practical effects, and they have like it's like the blue screen, green screen stuff covering like most of the mechanical part, and you see this weird like crab walking monster thing with like ribs sticking out as part of its face stretched. It's really like all like wires hanging out of the bottom of the torso, showing like that kind of the mechanical features of it moving. The studio exec said, let's put CGI all over that. So this is what they did. And that movie was supposed to show that there was a pilot. There was like the pilot of that ship that crashed, and it had like this. It was disturbing looking. It had like these like three eyes in a row in the middle of its face, and like this kind of like anus looking mouth. The disturbing looking thing. It's like, oh, disgusting. And they just said, hey, let's get rid of that. So they put all these like CGI Rubik's Cube Tetris looking blocks over it in the actual theatrical cut.
Mm-hmm.
And the guys got together to Woodruff and Gillis, and they said, hey, let's make a movie. They did a movie called Harbinger Down. It was a Kickstarter movie, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll finally check this out. It was on Amazon Prime. I'm watching it. You can kind of tell it's, the practical effects are great, but holy fuck, dude, the sound effects, they use the same sound effect, door shut, like the creaking like 100 times. And I was like, oh, stop it, for the love of God, stop it. It was like they couldn't even do any more Foley. They couldn't have, futzed with it a little bit. Nope. Every single time the door shuts, it's that sound. Every single time.
I might love this movie because I love bad shit. I love it like the lower the budget, the more I'm into it. It's just like I love that sort of shit. I just love it. Man,
That's why I love that Roger Corman Fantastic Four. I mean, holy shit!
I've never watched it, and I kick myself because it's like you can find it, and
Yeah.
people say it was like, oh, it's online, it's on YouTube, but like is it really on YouTube? Can you watch the whole thing? Do you have to like pay for it, or do you
No, it's actually on YouTube. Like the problem is like the search algorithm on YouTube is kind of weird at times.
I've never been able to really sit and find it.
Well, if I come across, I'll send you a link to it on YouTube. But
awesome.
There's a movie I'd never seen before, and the guy, speaking of animatronics, Steve Barron, who did did music videos. He did the Aha Take on Me music video.
Okay.
And he also directed the '90 Ninja Turtles movie. That amazing. Oh my god,
the good one.
The good one. That stuff that holds up. The one where they actually attack people. The Secret of the Ooze, where they're just, hey, let's dance and be friends because parents got upset. Fuck that shit. Oh, come on.
Or Ninja Turtles 3, which was like Splinter was like a fucking sock puppet. Just it was terrible.
Oh my god. Everything was so. Oh, did you ever see the Turtles? We Wish You a Turtle Christmas.
Oh god, I can only imagine. No.
Oh my god, it's like the eyes are as wide. Like there's very little articulation. But they're like the mouth flaps are like this, like it's the scariest looking thing. I would not show it to a child, but there was that coming out of our shells tour.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
But somebody did a music video, a song called "Never Back Down." It's like,
dude, I think I tweeted that. You were like, "Holy shit, this is the greatest thing I've ever." Teenage Mutant Turtles. Yeah,
I love it. It's like,
"Oh, you motherfuckers ready to get the fuck up?"
Exactly, that's the one. It's like, it's fucking great. But Steve Barron did this movie called Electric Dreams in like 87, 88.
Yeah.
And it's this movie about this dude, this really dorky motherfucker. I forgot the actor's name, but it's Jay Madsen's in it as well, like the other name I could know of. But it's about this like dorky computer guy. And he gets a computer, like his life sucks. He gets a computer, and the computer's supposed to help him out, and the computer like haywires and like starts learning. And he starts falling for his next door neighbor, and the computer kind of helps him hook up with the neighbor unintentionally. The computer gets jealous, and it's like that. I was like, because I remember that movie Her. When that movie Her came out, people were like, "Oh,
my CPU is a learning computer. My CPU is a neural net processor."
It actually, the ending it could set up Skynet. That's what's so weird. The ending could. It's like but it's like one of those really kick-ass movies. But you can't find it on DVD or Blu-ray legally. It's only on YouTube. And it's like the weirdest thing because it's like a licensing rights or some bullshit like that. I guess because of, you know how studios are. They dick around.
Yeah.
It's like one of my favorite movies. It's a Canucksploitation film called Rolling Vengeance. Have you ever seen this?
No, I'm going to check it out.
It is, okay. Here's the premise. Father and son. The father owns a trucking business. It's basically, they mainly haul like everything from beer to everything else. Like, well, the father is hauling beer. There's a guy who runs played by Ned. There's a bad guy in the neighborhood town, played by Ned Beatty, who owns a car dealership and a bar. And the family runs afoul. And one by one, the family suffers Death Wish style. So it's Death Wish with monster trucks. The son goes and builds a monster truck to seek revenge against the rednecks that killed his family.
I have to see this movie.
There's a clip online, and basically there's like the redneck when he's got his hat and he's got glasses and everything. He's like got his chew in his mouth, and you see the monster truck come over the hill. It's like very blocky looking monster with flames coming out the exhaust.
This sounds awesome.
This music sting, and he's like, "What the fuck is that?" Oh, and the monster truck has a auger drill underneath of it. It comes out like a red rocket.
What the fuck?
It is amazing.
This sounds like heaven. I need to see this.
It is. It's like the craziest thing is I remember watching this so many times, and it's like it's a brutal fucking movie. But like, I grew up watching RoboCop and shit. Yeah. So it's like not as brutal as RoboCop. But it's like,
I'm an '80s kid, so I grew up watching like Red Dawn. Remember like the scene where the guy like paratrooper like lands and he like blows away the history teacher.
Oh yeah, the history teacher. What are you doing out here? What are you doing out
get
here?
out of here. Like, what the fuck do you think he's doing? He's setting up a 50 cal. What the fuck? I just run for cover. What the fuck?
Clearly,
what do you think he's doing?
Clearly, the history
kids.
teachers, the history teacher hasn't gotten to the modern wars yet. It's
right,
like,
exactly.
if he'd have set up a cannon, he'd know what was up. But he set up a 50 cal.
This must be the prank war between the rival high schools. Like, oh, come on, kids, get on out of here. That's nothing. Just tearing the place up. What the fuck was he think he was doing?
Oh my god!
But anyways, yeah. But that's the shit that I grew up on too. It's just like Death Wish and Rambo and Terminator, all that shit. So
how about Missing in Action? How about
of course, Braddock, man.
Missing in Action is better than honestly. Missing in Action. This will give me a lot of shit. I don't care. I'd rather watch Missing in Action, the first one, which was actually the second one.
Yes, exactly.
The Joseph Zito directed one. I'd rather watch that than any of the Rambo films.
Well, even First Blood.
Even First Blood, the reason First Blood, it kind of drags for a bit. I understand the whole part. After John leaves the police station, he goes up, he takes the dirt bike, and he's going out and accidentally kills the guy on the helicopter, and the National Guard comes after him and all that, and then Troutman shows up. The kind of the build up. It's like, I'm not here to save him from you. I'm saving you from him.
Yeah,
and it's
stuff that would make a billy goat puke. All that whole fucking.
Like, God didn't create Rambo, I did. It's good shit. But it's like that whole sequence where, first off, when the opening of Missing in Action is this nightmare sequence where Chuck Norris is killing himself with 2 grenades to kill the VC, and then wakes up and he's like having this nightmare. It's like shitty hotel rooms, all dingy and grimy because it's like filmed in the Philippines and shit.
It felt hot watching it.
It did. It felt like your skin was like greasy and sweaty and shit.
I wanted to take a shower as soon as that scene ended.
Oh god, it's great. And he goes get Emmett Walsh. He's like, I need a guy to drive me upriver. It's like he's at a whorehouse. He's got these naked prostitutes all around. It was like, yeah. And then he got
Wasn't he? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. No,
he was a Blade Runner, and he was the father in Harry and the Hendersons. He was George Henderson's father.
Wasn't he in Red Scorpion with Dolph Lundgren?
I think so. I believe
he the guy that used to play like fucking whatever Chubby Checker or whatever. This was like what the fuck is his name? Jesus Christ, the fucking old rock and roll guy. I'm embarrassed that I can't remember his name. Good golly, Miss Molly. What the fuck? Why?
You're talking about Little Richard?
Little Richard wasn't he the guy that was just playing all those like old like Little Richard tunes while Dolph Lundgren was just blowing people away with his special little rifle there? Wasn't that Emmett Walsh?
So. I'm looking him up now. I'm looking up to see what he was up to was the Red Scorpion, right?
Yeah.
Yes, let's see if he was in there. Red Scorpion, not seeing it. Shit. Wait, yeah, he was 88. Red Scorpion.
Okay, yeah, all right.
Yeah, that was him then. Yeah, damn. But yeah,
he picked up Braddock and then Red Scorpion, and then they just fucking went to town. They just picked up Rambo and John Matrix, and they just fucking decimated entire continents.
That whole Commando is like one of those movies. It's so fucking dumb. Too bad Alyssa Milano just became such a fucking psycho. It's like,
speaking of going back to Will Wheaton, she's another one that just fucking went off the deep end. Jesus Christ.
I should have known something better. I was watching back in the day Charmed, and like when she started getting all these shitty tattoos all over, it's like you want attention. You're already on a fucking TV show. How much more attention do you need?
Right.
It's like if people look at I'm not a fan of tattoos personally. I kind of hate them. I think they're really fucking dumb. Unless you're like one of those, unless you're a fucking soldier or like you're from one of those like their tribe has been doing this shit for like millennia, like 2, 3, 4,000 years or some shit. Hey, we'll go out there and we'll kill a fucking whale with our bare hands. You earned that shit.
I've got one, and I only like if I was
around
18,
your ankle.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's a fucking exactly
butterfly tattoo.
It's right above my ass crack. Yeah, exactly. No, I have one, and I waited until I was like 30 to get it, and It was like if I was like 18, I would have got like the Punisher skull or fucking Megadeth like Vic Rattlehead on my ass or something stupid. I would have gotten something bad then. I'm glad I waited. I ended up getting something that I just well, okay. So long story short, you guys, if you ever know anything about samurai culture or anything, there's a book called Hagakure, and it was featured in the movie Ghost Dog with Forrest Whitaker, the Jim Jarmusch
funny
movie.
you mention that. A good friend of mine, he's like, you need to see Ghost Dog. You need to see Ghost Dog. Hopefully, he was watching earlier. He was in the chat, so I was like, that's funny you mentioned that.
Well, it's a great movie. It's really good. But there's a book that's featured a lot in the movie called Hagakure, and I went out and bought a copy, and I kind of like changed. No, I don't want to say it sounds fucking stupid to say changed my life, but it was like one of these things where like it puts things into perspective. You know what I mean? It's kind of at the time I read it. It was kind of weird just because it was like, wow, people 500 years ago think the same way as people do now. It's like the human condition doesn't change. People have the same motivations and same desires and, pettiness and all that shit. People were people then, and nothing has changed now. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like, it was this kind of weird thing. So long story short is I got the emblem that's on my copy of the book. I got that tattooed on my shoulder. So it was kind of like, I can, like, that reminds me of the lessons I learned from the book, and to just kind of keep that in perspective and to kind of, I'm not going to become a hitman and steal cars and listen to rap music and all that shit from Ghost Dog, but get a lazy eye and fucking
end up in a bad Star Wars movie. Save the dream. Oh my god!
You gotta. Before we get too far down the rabbit hole, you did mention Will Wheaton. There's one thing I want to bring up before we end the conversation tonight, but I gotta wait till later on to bring it up. Remind me to tell you to talk about the TV series Swamp Thing. Remember I gotta bring this up, or else I'll fucking okay.
I'm gonna put this note down.
Yes. Because we were talking about bad shit and bad stuff, and I'm like, oh man, I have to talk about and dead kids. So anyway, I gotta bring that up, but it's worth it. But I gotta talk about that. But I want you to go back to Will Wheaton, because you were like, you said I want to get your thought on something, and I was like Will Wheaton, and then we kind of went off on a tangent.
Well,
but I want you.
As far as Will Wheaton and the rest of the kind of the. You get the Star Trek people that do all this stuff. Like Will Wheaton is kind of become one of those we call pop culture ambassadors. Like Patton Oswalt, Will Wheaton, Chris Hardwick, Kevin Smith. People I can't fucking stand. Chris Hardwick, the guy's a fucking hipster. He's a epitome of a hipster. Oh, I like bowling. Like what the fuck are you 80?
I like candlepin bowling because I'm in fucking. Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Wearing breeches, breeches, doing that shit. It's like
candlepin bowling.
Oh my god, Rip Van Winkle going to show up? But yeah, it's like that kind of shit. Like when you get these people, like, they become those, and like your Dink rant, which was fucking hilarious. And thank you again for sending.
You're very welcome.
Frequency, that was fucking fantastic. I mean, I shouldn't joke. I shouldn't joke about anybody's accent because I can't do a fucking accent other than my own. But it's the Star Trek style, Lily. It killed me. I was choking when I was listening to that.
I'm glad you liked it.
But it's like, but you're so fucking right. But these people, they look to him, and it's like this guy's like. I know you've seen them collages of all the soy boy faces with the open mouth. They're like, it's like waiting for the seed,
Yeah.
Which is like, hey, Opie and Anthony primed me for all that. Mostly prepped, but who knew Jim Norton was ahead of the curve with all the fuck talk? It's like, holy shit! Like Jim Norton's a prognosticator. Modern day Nostradamus, Jim Norton. Oh my god! It's like what the thing is, like, I guess he was the patient zero when it comes to the when it comes down to the degeneracy of America. It's
it's funny because my couple of guys I work with go to BlizzCon every year, and like I kind of like, oh, who hosted it? And it's always over the years they've had like Jay Moore, who's Jay Moore. I mean, he's a funny dude, and you know, he's not exactly politically correct at times, but like, you know, he's a genuinely funny dude, I think, in my opinion.
He
And
gets
then
kind
it
of
was like
annoying to me a little bit. It's like it's like in small doses, Jay Moore is good, but it's like
whenever he was on Opie and Anthony, I would always laugh my fucking balls off. And he's got that podcast like More Stories. Once in a while, it depends on who he has on, but I could listen to him fucking jabber for days with who. It just depends on who he's got on. But no, I hear what you're saying. Like, yeah, he's not, I mean, he's not the greatest stand up in the world. He's not the funniest guy in the world, but like, I think he's kind of funny. Like, I think he can be funny. But then, like the next year, I'm like, oh yeah, who's hosting? He's like, they're like Chris Chadwick. I'm
yeah.
like, ugh, ew. And then fucking last year, I'm like, oh well, who hosted? He was like, Will Wheaton. I'm like, oh fuck, I would have just refunded my ticket. I'd have thrown shit at him like fucking Woodstock. I would have just fucking it just infuriated me. I'm like, I would have just walked out. I'm like, why the fuck am I here? Listen to this asshole.
Throw a bloody tampon at him like
Like a fucking L7 show.
Oh my god!
You know what? You would probably find one there. There's someone there's got a bloody tampon to throw. Jesus Christ! If they're not done fucking chewing on it, they'll fucking throw it up at Will Wheaton. Ugh, this fucking. Ugh. There's something about like, I don't know what the fuck happened, but just something happened within the last like 10 years. To music, video games, like movies, TV.
Yeah, comics, even comics. I mean,
comics! Oh, it's the worst. What the fuck happened? People used to just be able to write a fucking story, write a song, film a fucking movie or a TV show, and just write it, and you wouldn't have to try and sell it to somebody. You wouldn't have to try and fucking have it cater to some fucking niche group, or whether it's what they look like, or what they sound like, or what their sexual orientation is. Nowadays, it's just like we have to please everybody. We have to put this person in and integrate that. And so, like, you should just be able to fucking write a story about anything. And if you're into it, you're into it. If you're not, you're not. But you let the characters speak for themselves. Like,
exactly.
It's fucking maddening. I don't get it. And it's all that's on TV and movies and music and video games. Well, maybe I don't know about video games. I don't play a lot of video games anymore. But I see shit like
the last Wolfenstein game. The first two Wolfenstein games, the remakes. Wolfenstein, the Old Blood and the New Order and everything. Like these two games, like the New Order and then Old Blood, are both badass games. You're going around like silently kill people. You can go outright just pull out double shotguns and blow these Nazis away and everything. And it's fantastic. It's got that kind of alternate timeline look to it. It's great. And then they did this new game, the new Colossus, and it is the dumbest shit ever. And they pull like the ending of the game, and I don't give a shit if it's I've not played it. Fuck you then. The ending of it is just a cut scene where they basically go on the Nazi version of the Johnny Carson show and kill this like Nazi woman. And then they talk to every like I did a stream last week and talking about how when people, especially people not from America, people not around a lot of black people, you depict black people like a lot of the same. Like not every black person would have an afro, and every black person in this game has an afro and a beret and the leather jacket. They all look, like they're part of the Black Panthers or something,
right?
And it was like this lazy design work. And the leader of the rebellious group is actually Deborah Wilson from Mad TV.
Is that right?
And they use her as a character model as well as the voice. And
oh man, it's
a stereotypical. It's like the kind of the stereotypical, unfortunately angry black woman. It's like, no, she has no character to her. The person she supposedly loved dies, and still like the same character. It's like, no, it's like the dumbest shit. Like there's some cool stuff in there, but the rest of it's surrounded by bullshit. It's a lot of cut scenes. There's a segment in the game where 30 fucking minutes is nothing but walking through this like old farm, like B.J. Blazkowicz's old home and revisiting memories and how horrible his father was and all this and that. It's like, who gives a shit? And then it's like this, and it's like that. It's like these people. A lot of these video games.
They want to feed you a message instead of just trying to entertain you. It's just like, what am I here for? I want to shoot Nazis in a fucking video game.
Exactly.
I don't want to have some sort of fucking you know, I don't want to say morals, but like I don't want you to fucking shove your little fucking
I don't want to
thoughts.
be preached to. Yeah.
Yeah, what the fuck? I'm here to just fucking turn my mind off and just like have fun, and these assholes are making it less fun, and it's just we were talking about Kevin Smith a little while ago. Like he had a podcast called Fat Man on Batman. I used to listen
yes.
I used to, yeah, yeah. You know what? You fucking cried. What a fucking idiot. You fucking had Kevin Conroy telling me he was a good boy, telling me
that right there is the
and he fucking cried like a baby.
And not only just having Kevin Conroy tell him, your father is very Kevin Conroy as Batman telling Kevin Smith that his dead father is proud of him, and it's
exactly.
Loss of a parent, that's horrible.
I am the knight. I am disappointed in you.
You should have gone off your ass more. Stop smoking on that pot. It's like, but that's the thing. It's like, I mean, it just shows how I think he had some very deep issues, and that right there, it's like losing a parent sucks, and it's like getting around that it's horrible. But when you have a fucking podcast and you can get these actors and shit on, and then you have the goddamn Batman come on and tell you were a good son, like how fucking deranged are you?
You fucking have Mark Hamill said, "I'm very proud of you, son."
Oh my god,
he's gonna fucking have I don't know. It was so he had getting back. He had this podcast, or he still has. I don't know. I haven't listened to it. So Fat Man on Batman, and you just specifically talk about Batman. And then after about a year, he just kind of switched formats where he brought in this guy, Mark Bernardin, or Bernardine or whatever. It was just this black dude that writes for different, he wrote for Playboy and he wrote for somebody else. I don't know. Wasn't really familiar. He wrote comics too. But I wasn't really familiar with him. And he would do these commentaries on the Batman films, like Batman Returns, Batman Forever. He was actually kind of funny. I liked listening to him, and he was a good dude. But then he became like the co-host of the show. And then he started kind of like getting more and more of what his, I don't want to say ideology, but it's like his more like his views on things. And again, everybody's got a different view on everything. Like, no, like I don't care what your views are. But the thing that got me to fucking turn off the show entirely was when they announced, because it went from like Batman talk to just like, oh, let's talk about Game of Thrones, let's talk about fucking Marvel movies, let's talk about Daredevil season 1. Like, all right, okay, fine. You want to do a pop cultural content like geek show? Like, okay, there's a million of those. I'm here for Batman. But so the thing that got me to turn it off was. This guy, it was just when they announced that Tom Holland would play Spider-Man in the new Marvel reboot, and he had said, "Oh, it's just another boring white guy." And it was like this because they went with Peter Parker over like any of the other or like Miles Morales. But I'm like wow, like what a fucking cunty thing to say. It's like Joe Public or Jane Public or whoever, like. Anybody that's grown up with I know Spider-Man. Like, oh, isn't that Peter Parker? Like, no one's going to know Miles Morales. I'm sorry. There's just no one outside of, like, that doesn't read comic books or aren't really into that culture are really going to know anything about that. Like, I didn't even really know about Miles Morales. I guess it's really cool. I don't read Spider-Man at all. I haven't really read comics in a long time, but like, if they wanted to make that, I don't care. But it was just, like, to just be like, oh, it's just another boring white dude. I'm like, well, what is that? Like, what does that say about, like you can't just be like, oh, that's cool, that's Spider-Man. I like that guy as an actor or whatever. Just like, that's the slant that you had on it? I'm like, all right, dude, I'm done. Like, this is kind of like, I'm tapping out. So, and I haven't, and then I made the point of fucking, and this is funny. I went on Twitter and I went on, and I wrote, I think I'm all done with that Kevin Smith's Fat Man on Batman podcast. I think it sucks now. And then he fucking unleashed the hounds.
Yes, I remember you. Oh my god, going through that shit. Oh my god.
He fucking subtweeted me, and then he said something along there. I was like, so I guess you're not going to tune in live on blah blah blah. Then on this next, he was like plugging his next show. So it was like, I guess you're not going to listen then. And then I knew I fucking stepped in shit when I like check Twitter like 2 hours later, and it said like 50 plus notifications. I'm like, oh fuck, he tweeted it, and I'm like, oh no, why do oh you fucking asshole? You don't like Kevin? Fuck you! You call yourself a fan? I'm like, Jesus Christ, you fucking babies! It's just like it's an opinion, dickheads. Everybody's got one. I mean, yeah. I guess I shouldn't have fucking added him with a shitty comment. I get it. You know what I mean? It was just like how I felt at the time. I was like, as soon as I heard like just another boring white guy, and I'm like, fucking, well, that's okay, but I don't, whatever. So I was. Go ahead.
No, I say it's funny you mentioned that because initially, before they did Captain America, they're doing the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe bullshit. They actually wanted Will Smith to be Steve Rogers. They wanted
Did they really?
Yeah, but apparently they're like, they don't want to spend the money up front. But now, like Will Smith's like, hey, I'll be in any of your Marvel movies. Like he's like kind of tired of the DC. Even though I fucking love Man of Steel. I
thought he was great. I thought he was great in Suicide Squad.
He was like he's definitely a hell of a lot better than Bright. Holy shit, did that fucking thing suck?
Yeah, like I didn't watch it, but I heard it was god awful.
Oh my god, it was worse. Like I was thinking, you know what? It's probably I got Joel Edgerton. He's in it. He's like he plays the orc in that, and then you got Will Smith, and you got this David Ayer, and I'm like, okay, every fucking David Ayer movie except for Fury is like Los Angeles gritty crime drama. Like fuck, what the fuck? What the fuck is wrong with you? Okay, we get it. You love the fucking Los Angeles gang shit. We get it. Like like this, it's like that kind of bullshit. Yeah. But it was, but yeah, Will Smith was one time because they did a comic called Truth, Captain America Truth, Red, White, and Black, which retcon the Captain America origins. Like in the comics, Steve Rogers became Captain America before Pearl Harbor. In this comic, they say, oh no, Pearl Harbor happens, and then these black soldiers go and get they get sign up. And they end up going and they get shuffled off to basically like the ski experiments kind of thing. Except we're not going to give this super soldier formula to a white boy first, even though yeah, you did. It's like it's like if they had said in the comic, hey, if we did, we want to replicate it. That makes more sense. But the writer, the writer tried to do the whole, see that's how it make them even more evil or kind of racist or anything like that, which is bullshit,
right?
But yeah, it's like it's kind of. When these people do stuff like that, like you say, like going off the topic. That's why I call this holding court, because it could be anything. I could do politics, movies, comics, TV, whatever, alien conspiracies. Who the fuck knows? It's
still real. It's still real to me, damn it.
Wrestling, oh my god, I can't stand his politics, but fucking Jim Cornette rules. I mean, the guy's a mother. If you're like his, thank you, fuck you, Bob. I need that as a fucking answer machine or something. Put that. Leave your name and number. Thank you, fuck you, bye. But it's like this great shit. It's like he has this line. It's like the whole thing. It's like it wasn't released. It escaped. It's like good shit like that. It's like this. He was one of his heel managers. I
remember.
All that stuff. Hitting people with tennis rackets and shit, and pulling. His girlfriend at the time was just got like a clitoral piercing, and Brock Lesnar, he was one of the he ran this OVW. And Brock Lesnar is supposed to pick her up on like body slammer, and he's like, and she told him not to, pick her up near there because of the piercing, and he was doing it anyway because it was Brock Lesnar. Who's going to tell him no? But Jim Cornette said, "I will shoot you, motherfucker! Don't do that again." And Brock Lesnar, I don't know. I was like, he's badass, but a fucking gun is a gun. And it's just funny as shit. But yeah, it's like. Before we wrap up, because I know your time is precious and everything, but yes, the TV series Swamp Thing, which had a great costume, which is actually better than the movies.
It really is. At least the first one. I don't remember the second one. I remember the second movie.
Heather Locklear, and the reason I remember the second one the most because the opening of the film they used "Born on the Bayou" by CCR.
That's great. Yeah,
Bayou. It's perfect.
That was the first time I had ever heard that song. And I'm like, this song's
same
cool.
here. See, I used to listen to CCR, but it didn't get that much airplay. My dad had Cosmo Factory and a bunch of other stuff with the vinyl, and that wasn't on there. And it was like I used to listen to a lot of the the Southern rock, your 38 Special, CCR. But even CCR is California, but they had that Southern sound. Leonard Skinner and Doobie Brothers, stuff like that. Not Doobie Brothers. Almond
Allman
Brothers.
Brothers.
Almond
Yeah.
Brothers. I'm confused, but yes, I remember the some of the content of that Swamp Thing show, which got really weird. Sometimes you have like this Captain Planet-y message.
Oh god. So so it's on. I don't know if you get this where you live, Larry. Or I don't know if any of the listeners. There's a network called MeTV, and it's memorable entertainment television. It's all old classic TV shows from like the 60s, 70s, 80s, and sometimes even into the 90s.
Heroes and Icons, yeah, that channel, right?
Yeah, it might be similar. I don't know.
They have it. There's a channel down here called Heroes and Icons. It's one of those over-the-air channels.
Okay.
And occasionally, I still have like one of those digital TV antennas just in case, like God forbid the power go, like the cable goes out. I got a little generator to kick on like the TV
so you can
on
watch
for
like local channels and stuff like that.
Exactly, especially if there's a hurricane or something. I have backup just in case. But yeah, there's a channel, but they have Heroes and Icons on Saturdays. They run the George Reeves Superman. They run Greatest American Hero, Green Hornet. Oh. It's a 60s Adam West Batman, Swamp Thing, Hercules, Xena, like all that good hero shit.
Oh, that's great. MeTV has that too. That Saturday, it's like Sci-Fi Saturdays where they do like the 70s Wonder Woman with Linda Carter.
Oh yeah, that's on there too. Yeah, that's on this one too. Yeah.
Batman, Star Trek, a few other. They've got this horror movie guy called Sven Gulli, who's great.
Yes,
okay, yep. Rich Coase, yeah. So anyways, they just started playing the old Swamp Thing TV series, and I remember that as a kid, and I thinking it was like cool, but it was just because it was like comic books, and it was just kind of. And I watched the movies, but it was just to watch a weekly show, and it was terrible. I mean, let's face it was really really shit. But when I was a kid, I liked it, and then so a number of years ago, I went back and I watched them. I rented them on Netflix DVDs, and I watched like the first season, and so it's this fucking show had one of the greatest character write-offs in television history. And I'm going to explain to you and all your listeners what this show did, and it's monstrous. So they had this little kid on the show, and the character's name was Jim Kipp. And it was like this like 10, 12-year-old kid that would be like, it was like they wrote this kid into the show just to be like, oh, for the little kids that watch the show, somebody to relate to, which no kid relates to another little shitty, whiny kid. That, like they want to relate to Swamp Thing that's kicking people's ass. No one fucking wanted this kid. It was just a shit kid that like Swamp Thing would be in the swamp being like, I was once a man, blah, blah, blah. And he'd be like, Mom, my mom's trapped in a fiery car. Come get him out. Oh, fuck, I got to leave the swamp. He'd go rescue, save the day, and then go back and fucking mope in the swamp. And then next week he'd come over like, oh, my fucking leg's caught on the train tracks. And fuck, the Swamp Thing's like, fuck, I got to go help this kid. So it was just like, it was shit. And eventually, after like the 13th episode, the fucking producers picked up what was going on. And this is what happened, right? So episode 13, this fucking kid gets trapped. He gets caught by Dr. Arcane. This fucking kid goes snooping around his fucking monster lab, right? I don't know how the fuck he got there or how he knew where he was. But this little shit's running around the fucking lab, and he gets caught. Dr. Arcane catches him. And then fucking the whole fucking episode, you think that Swamp Thing's going to run in and save the day. And the fucking Dr. Arcane fucking shipped this kid to slave labor in like South America or Africa. So he went on another continent and fucking shipped this kid, this 10-year-old kid, and he fucking shipped them out for slave labor with all his other mutants. Like, he would, like, make these mutants and then be like, fucking, Warthog Man didn't work out, so I'm going to ship him over there for slave labor to some company. And then fucking Vulture Boy didn't work out, so I'm going to ship him for slave labor. But they fucking put this little kid in the fucking container, and the whole episode you're thinking Swamp Thing's going to run in and save the day. Nope. At the fucking last time you see this little kid, it's this shirtless boy in a container fucking getting shipped off. And they didn't, that was it. You didn't see him the rest of the show. That was it.
Like he gets shipped over, like oh, unfortunate, no dig at you. He's getting shipped over like Patriots Super Bowl shirts.
Oh yeah, exactly. 19-0 Super Bowl shirts. Oh fuck.
But look at this way. Like, I know that stung, but seeing how literally shitty Philadelphia, Pennsylvania is, eating
literally
horse shit.
I tweeted something along the lines of like, how bad does a Philly cheesesteak have to taste when shit is the fucking better option? I mean, really?
Oh
like, I mean,
fucking horrible, dude.
We won fucking 5 Super Bowls, a Stanley Cup, 3 World Series, and an NBA championship in the span of fucking 15 years, and not one of us massholes ate shit. I can take that as a fucking badge of honor. I only been to one of the parades. I went to the Bruins parade in 2011, and I didn't go to any of the other ones. But I mean, that's a scene right there. I mean, it's you get the fucking. Yeah, dude, come on, fucking, what the fuck going on, kid? Oh shit, there they fucking are. I don't know if you've ever seen the video of the 2 fucking idiots on the boat. Did you even see that when they think they see like a flounder or something in the water? He's like, "What the fuck is that, dude? What is that? Holy shit, kid!"
Yes.
You seen that one?
Oh my god, yeah. That's
imagine a city filled with them. And that's where I was. I was in smack dab in the middle. Like, what the fuck is that, kid? Oh, shit, we ain't seen some shit we ain't never seen before, Jay. I was in the middle of that. So that was kind of like, I guess I'm not going to these anymore. I'm just going to stay home and watch it on TV.
I do the same thing, because like when that shit happens, it's like when you get in the middle of that shit, anything, like what could go wrong can, and if it does, it's like, oh shit. You're not getting back to your car. You're not getting to safety in a hurry. If the fucking riot cops come out, they don't give a fuck if you're innocent or not. They're going to be like, hey, I'm not doing it. Get a tear gas grenade right to your balls or something.
Well, there was a girl that died after the...
oh, yeah, that's right.
The Red Sox won the ACLS in 2004. They beat the Yankees, and a girl got shot with a pepper spray pellet and hit her in the eye, and she died. It's like, you don't see... It's gotten a lot better around here with championships, I guess, because like people we've won so many. It sounds shitty to anybody else listening. Yeah, it's fucking old hat. Well, it's funny because it's like it's true. The Patriots, like, they're in the Super Bowl like every other year, it seems like, and it was like other cities did like, yeah, we're in the Super Bowl, and we're like, yeah, we're in the Super Bowl. It's like, what else? That's what's expected. And even like, I'm not gonna lie, this one is just like, I didn't even feel like that bad. They lost, and I'm like, well, okay, they lost. They won the year before. I mean, like, okay, it's not like they hadn't been there in 20 years, and it's the first crack at it, and they just fucking lost. We just won one, like, fucking less than exactly a year ago. We won one, so it's like, okay, they lost. Like, I mean, I'm speaking for myself, of course, but I don't know. I didn't eat shit in a win or a loss, so I guess I can hang my hat on that, as opposed to fucking Philly. It was the first time they fucking won something since Rocky beat Apollo Creed and fucking just fucking lose a city.
Did you ever? I know you said you didn't read many comics. It's kind of on topic a little bit, but did you ever read Batman Year One, the Frank Miller, David Mazzucchelli? The sequence where Batman's in the building, and this GCPD SWAT comes in, and they can't get him out, so they firebomb the building to get him out. That's based off. It really happened in Philly. There was a black nationalist group that weren't letting their kids go to school, and so the police came in. They wouldn't get them. The police couldn't get them to come out, so they firebombed the tenant buildings.
No shit.
That actually is based on like that sequence in Batman is based off like, so if any city could be really Gotham, it'd be fucking Philadelphia. So somebody in Gotham eating the Joker's shit,
Christian Bale and his fucking growth by his eye just swooping in. Step away from the shit. Get that out of your mouth.
I actually watched that. I watched that 310 to Yuma remake that he was in. Him and Russell Crowe.
It's not bad.
That's a good fucking film.
Yeah.
It's what gets me is because everybody like that when Logan came out, everybody's like, oh, it's based off old comic Old Man Logan, and Old Man Logan's based off of Unforgiven. It's more based off of 3:10 to Yuma.
3:10 to Yuma, yeah.
Which is funny considering James Mangold, who directed 3:10 to Yuma, directed Logan, and there's
coincidence much?
I don't think that's what's so weird. It's like because Mark Miller is clearly, like, if you ever read his comics, like the Ultimates, all that stuff, including the Old Man Logan comic, it's like he pulls so much from movies. Like there's sequences from the Ultimates where it's like, oh, that's out of Silence of the Lambs. That's out of there's a sequence where it's the ending of Silence of the Lambs is in the comic. There's this from Saving Private Ryan. There's a bunch of other stuff. It's like these like whole sequences he just pulls for his comics. And with Old Man Logan being inspired by 3:10 to Yuma, I watched 3:10. Like Ben Foster is a badass motherfucker in that film.
He's great in that movie. And
Pandorum as well. If you've never seen Pandorum,
what's his face?
Dennis Quaid.
Dennis Quaid. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. And the Anthony Trial, that German actress who played Feora in Man of Steel. She's in that movie too. She's like this scientist, I gotta learn how to defend myself quicker. These creatures are gonna eat my ass. So and not in the fun way. But yeah, that's good movies like that are hard to come by now because everything either has to be super low budget or $200-300 million. So it's really unfortunate. That's how movies are now. But that's why I think the next movie I'm gonna go see is Deadpool 2, and that's pretty much gonna be it. I'm not gonna see no Infinity War or any of that bullshit. It's just like, who gives a fuck?
I don't go to the movies very often because it's just like life is so hectic. But I ended up going to see the new Death Wish remake.
Yeah, you were telling me like I was asking like, oh please don't. Hopefully it doesn't have that much rape in it because that Michael Winter is a fucking bastard.
Oh my god, you can tell Deanna Troy about how much you can ask her about how much of an asshole Michael Winter is. But it's not high art. I mean, come on, it's a Death Wish remake with Bruce Willis, who's just
he doesn't give a fuck anymore. He's given up on life.
Oh, it's just a paycheck. You know what I mean? It's the same performance he's given for the last 15, 20 years. But it was entertaining. I mean, it's just like if you have it in like if keep in mind like what it is that you're seeing. It's no. I don't know what you get exactly what you fucking pay for and what you expect, basically. You know what I mean? It's not too preachy one way or the other, and some of the performances were pretty good. I actually like Vincent D'Onofrio, who was in it. All the bad guys were kind of just there. You know what I mean? They don't really
just like the rest of Death Wish films. I mean.
Except with the exception of the fucking Death Wish 3, which is just fucking that bad guy with
Bill Burr. Bill Burr with like the slash mark, the paint on his forehead. Oh my god! It's like
so I smushed all the muffins. What the fuck? I smushed all the muffins, and fucking Charles Bronson shot me. What the fuck?
Oh god, that Bill Burr ripping into Philadelphia, that right there, like that.
Oh, on the Opie and Anthony tour.
Oh yeah,
that's one of the greatest videos of all time.
It's just talking shit. It's like, if I could chain you all to your seats and shoot you where you sit. It's like, this is great.
He fucking submitted. They fucking backed. I mean, they were all like, "Fuck you, you suck," and he fucking beat the shit out of them so bad they applauded him. They're like, "Fuck it, yeah, you're right. We're pieces of shit," and they just applauded him. They were like, "All right, yeah, you win," and so that was like Bill Burr like single-handedly just fucking stole Philly's lunch and just said, "Fucking do something."
Oh god, like. You praise a fake boxer. What, Joe? Like, you give a statue to a fake boxer, but Joe Louis, because he's black, you don't give a shit. It's great. I mean, he ripped into him, and it's like, oh god, it's like I think that's not to like bash Bill Burr really, but he's kind of lost it since being married. He's kind of toned him down a bit, maybe age too.
It's a little bit.
It's unfortunate. It's like. there's sparks of that old Bill Burr, like, but like a lot of people, like, up until I think he had that stroke or whatever. I think Don Rickles had that stroke before but I
Yeah.
mean, the guy was just a mean motherfucker. He
Mhm.
was just mean.
Well,
but
I gotta. So I met Bill Burr. All right. So
okay.
you want to see how you want to see. This is a real life encounter I had with Bill Burr. So I went to see him on my bachelor party at Foxwoods Casino in Connecticut.
Mhm.
And so after the show, we went out for something to eat in the casino, and then we went around and started walking around. And there's this thing called the Center Bar in at the casino. And so me and my friends and my brother-in-laws are there, and we're all drinking. And who's in this little VIP area but Bill Burr and Paul Verzi, who's the opener, and a
Oh
bunch of other
shit.
people. We're like, yeah, we're like, oh shit, there he is. He's smoking cigars, drinking scotch like a fucking gentleman. And so I'm like, oh fuck, oh there he is. And once in a while, you'd see people go in and try and like bother him, and he'd maybe pose for a picture. But I'm like, I'm not gonna bother him. I'm not gonna be a douche and just be like, oh, it's my bachelor party. Can I come in? I wasn't about to bother him. But my wife's cousin's husband's dude, Greg, if you listen, you're the fucking man. He went over and he said to the bouncer, he's like, hey, look, it's my buddy's bachelor party. Like, can we get a picture? He's like, oh yeah, come on in. So he's like, hey, Pete, come on, let's go. So I go in and we meet Paul Verzi, and he was awesome. We posed for a picture with him, and then and this is great. So he goes over to Bill Burr, and he sits down, and he's like, it's like going up to the Godfather, and he's like, hey, these guys over here, and he's like, it's bachelor party. He was like, you can see, he's like, yeah, okay, bring him over. So he like motions us over. And we go, and he's like, hey, guys, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm wearing a Bruins shirt. He's like, hey, nice shirt. So he was like the nicest guy. He was great, posing for pictures. Oh, you're getting married, blah, blah, blah. Hey, good for you. And he was awesome. He was the best. And then this is just around the time that Breaking Bad was the final season of Breaking Bad. And he was on the episode the week before this happened. So my brother-in-law says, hey, you were on Breaking Bad last week. You were great. He's like, oh yeah, thanks. He's like, yeah, they gave you what, like 4 lines? Like he kind of, and I know what he meant to say. He meant to say like, oh, they gave you like just a few lines, which is great. But the way it came off, he's like, yeah, they gave you like what, a couple of lines? And he goes, it's 4 more lines than you had, asshole. And then I'm like, oh no, I fucking blew it. He called my brother-in-law an asshole, and I'm like, oh shit. So then we kind of like left, and I kind of like, oh no, because he was cool, and then he just saw the flip switch, and he was just like, oh yeah, there's 4 more lines than you had, asshole. Oh, it was the best. But yeah, that's so
Hey, how many people can say they've been destroyed by Bill Burr?
Philly can.
Oh yeah, Philly. No, we know where Philly stands in the scheme of things.
And I know my brother-in-law hasn't eaten shit, so he's still got one up over Philly.
Oh my God! Well, what a way to end tonight's first stream, and Pete's first time on the show.
Papa
and hopefully we'll return, Papa Cherries. So thank you all who tuned in and joined us. Thank you, Pete.
You're welcome.
And this will we'll catch you guys in about a half-hour time when we go live with Mr. Marvel and Mega Gears X. And thank you again.
You're welcome, man.
Good night, folks.